Hey guys.
Hey
Hi.
guys.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
I watched some of it last night and a bit more this morning, and I can't wait to watch more.
Oh, cool,
So that's
good.
That's good.
sign.
From the beginning, I can gather you don't speak in fluent London yourselves. So my first question was going to be about the challenges of accents. Is it more difficult for you guys to speak in that accent, or how challenging has it been for you to be in that accent? Because it's very distinct, and me being a Londoner, I know exactly how it is, and you guys seem to nail it pretty well.
Thanks.
Thank
Well, he
you.
was like, where is this going?
Get to your point. Get to your review. And you guys really are crap. Yeah. It's well, it's actually quite an old-fashioned version of it, and a slightly heightened, version of it. And that was really important. We didn't want it to sound too modern, and the whole show is quite heightened. So we wanted it to feel this, like it was all part of the same world. And so I work with a dialect coach called Laura Hart. But to be honest with you, because I'm Scottish, I often have to transform and to do something else with acting. And I find it like one of the great pleasures of acting is transforming. So I found it really exciting and a great way into the character. So I actually just loved doing it.
Yeah, I worked with a voice coach called Emma Stevens-Johnson, and we decided that Deedee was more kind of Camden than East End. So we found an actress friend of Emma's, and she recorded all the lines for me. So I constantly had a guide in my head. I could constantly listen back and kind of the different rhythms and stuff. But I think growing up, like we've, been exposed to so many London accents that, everything on TV was London. And so yeah, I think like James, we're constantly shape shifting.
All of that. All of
All those things.
Ship.
Not great with English, but the
Were there any
spoken
words? Was
word.
there any words that you? I know people always say about, was there a word that got you into the character? But was there any words or phrases that you struggled with that took a little bit of time?
Lots. Yeah. It's vowels really,
Yeah.
and like I would speak very fast, as I think Scottish people do as well. And it was about slowing it down and enjoying the language. I think the London accent, people really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy speaking it. So it's just about slowing it down.
Yeah. In terms of getting involved with the show as well, obviously the film is so iconic, and there's only, even though at the time wasn't like a huge blockbuster, it's endured year after year and just becomes richer and richer, and so many more people get involved with it and have things to say and take different things from it. Did you have any trepidations going into it, or did you kind of see it as a blank slate, given that you're back in time and it's a part of the story that we haven't seen yet, and that allowed you to a bit more freedom, if you like?
It's definitely daunting when you are offered to touch something that is iconic, which it really is, and you want to pay it respect and homage and give it its due, but also you've got to understand this is a completely its own thing. It's its own vehicle, and I'm actually really happy when I saw it for the first time about how different our tone is and our identity is to it, and that was something that was quite deliberate, and again something that was, it is nerve-wracking, but it's also really exciting. It's the two things you want to grab it, and it's inevitable that there is going to be, totally understand that there will be a certain brand, an age of cinephile that will just be pearl clutching or hysterical by the fact we're even doing it. But that's. That's fine. Just don't watch it, or have a good life.
But it's not a remake, is
no,
it?
No, it's its own thing.
It's its own, and I don't think you need to have watched the film to enjoy the show. And I think if it introduces a younger generation to the film that might not know it, then that's a brilliant thing.
And people who love the film, who don't feel a certain way about it, I think would really enjoy. But I've had different reactions. I've had people who adore the film and are like, "How dare you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I wish you peace and good luck. and then I have other people who adore the film and are like, oh my goodness, they just want to spend time with the characters, And so I think for that crowd, that's fine. But as Sarah says, it really feels like it could introduce a new generation, and it's and also when we meet the characters in the film, they're past it. They're living with the consequences of the lives they've lived. These characters are full of possibility and of youthfulness and sometimes a naivety, but I think that allows us to confidently be something different, and that was enjoyable.
Yeah, you can never please everybody anyway, can you? Even with
Sarah Greene
people.
can. Let it be known, Sarah Greene can. I've met no one else. I was filming in Ireland when we first met, and I'd never met her before, and the drivers, everyone, doe-eyed talking about the great Sarah Greene, and then I love the drivers. And then I got to say she's going to be my girlfriend. So. Hey, you guys.
Your relationship the original relationship on the film is obviously very different to what you guys get to do. I wanted to ask you about the kind of it's like the club scene that you guys have and the dance and everything else. What was it like to shoot that? Because it's quite visually, it's quite stirring, but also introduces the audiences to your characters and their thought patterns and kind of. I guess they're one thing, but then when you meet each other, it becomes different things in their kind of emotions and everything else. What was it like to do that scene? Because it feels like quite a pivotal scene in their relationship.
Well, it was it's love at first sight, really, isn't it? And yeah, we wanted to make it as iconic as possible. And I think in the film, it's incredible how in love they are, and it's very exciting for us to get to show the beginning of that love story, and which happens on that dance floor, and then at the party they meet later on. And
it was our first scene.
It was our first scene together.
It was our first scene together, yeah. And that, I think that really helped. There was an energy to it, and it was. I really like that bold open. It is. It's so romantic that it's love at first sight, and then that whole episode you get to see as they just click into each other. I was saying earlier that both Gal and Deedee, their worlds entirely rely on them. They've got these, spheres of people who just rely on them and need them, and they don't take from them, and they don't need anything from each other. And I think they really recognise that in each other. That there's no judgment there. No
judgment. They don't. Yeah, as you say, don't need each other. So I think they just push each other to not limit themselves and be the best versions of themselves, of each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. At the start, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but at the start of the first episode, there is something that you do that people will immediately know what it is towards the beginning.
The opening.
I know.
Yeah, you know what it is. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to spoil it for people. But was that the most daunting part of it, given what you were doing in that scene? Because that's like iconic. That image is iconic. Did you enjoy doing that? Because
yeah, I loved doing it. It was, and because there is a slight twist on it, for me that took the pressure off, and it wasn't. I didn't also want to, it wasn't like a choreographed. Do you know what I mean? We just set it up like any other scene, and thought, right, what are the circumstances of the scene, and what would he do? And I knew there would be echoes of things, but it wasn't trying to. In my head, it was not useful for me to sort of choreograph a beat by beat, reenactment. So it was just a lot of fun. It was also the hottest day of the year, so it was
helpful.
Correct.
Really helpful.
Yeah. Have you kept them?
I wanted to go tighter.
You wanted to have a Daniel Craig.
Well,
Royale,
they arrived, and I was like, this is quite baggy, and but not partly it was too much.
Too much. No, you'll get one day, I'm sure.
The
original film has such a distinct style, but also one of the things I love about it is that it's obviously on the surface a gangster film, but it has such a great kind of humour to it, dark humour and everything else. For you guys as actors, how much fun is it to kind of play in the darkness, but also in the dark humour? Because Stephen and Tamsin were saying that was kind of one of their favourite bits, that they get to be in a scene that's got lots of tension, but also has a lot of comedy moments to it, and they enjoy kind of the playing both sides. Did you guys get to enjoy both of those sides when you get to do this?
You a battle of us.
I think comedy is always the hardest thing to play. So as an actor, it's the biggest and best challenge if you get it right. I think that the biggest thing is to not play for laughs, and to let it come through, honesty and the writing. But yeah, did I have many comedy moments? No. I don't think I was.
The characters are so compartmentalised. So we were, when we were filming it, and one of our felt like a great secret is that Sarah and I were in this searing romance, and like we're all doing heists and like swearing at each other, and we're in the Notebook. You know what I mean? Like, and it was so enjoyable, wasn't it? Like, really I loved it. And Sarah would come in and out, and it was really helpful because I used to long for Sarah arriving so I could stop boxing and and go and do like romance, and it was really that was really good fun. And the tonal shifts in the in the series, I think, are really enjoyable. I think for an audience, you know.
Yeah. Have you had any feedback from anybody from the film yet? In terms of, do you know if anyone's seen it yet, or?
No, I think we've just watched it. So yeah. I think that'll come this week.
Ray Winston's
hopefully.
seen the trailer, and I thought the trailer was good. Apparently,
That's good.
I think if you get anybody's, or him and Ben Kingsley, obviously, if you get there.
I'm happy with the trailer.
The trailer was
watched
very,
the trailer,
very
and
good.
that's fine.
I think, you know what, sometimes with trailers, you get to see, like with this show particularly, people are like, oh, like you say, oh, they're doing Sexy Beastie Girl, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But then the trailer is so well done that has almost shocked people into, oh, actually, I might enjoy watching that. So sometimes trailers, even though they give away a lot of stuff, this one actually, I think, personally works very well.
I think it has to say, you know, it's quite confident, you know, that it's something different, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I'm really happy about is the soundtrack is banging, and soundtrack is really something special. Yeah, and also I'm really so happy to know we were coming out in January and February, because I just think it is perfect winter viewing. Like, turn on the telly, let the bright lights take over, and you know.
Sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, you can finish Traitors if you want, but then straight on to Sexy
As soon as
Beast.
you finish Traitors.
Yeah.
Before you start The Apprentice.
Absolutely. What if I put The Apprentice, Sexy Beast?
Guys, I do wish you all the best with it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey, you guys!